You're listening to PHP Ugly, episode 137. I'm your host, Tom Rideout. Here with me, as always, is Eric, the man with the plan, Van Johnson.
That was very long. Yes, I am here, Thomas. As always, I got your back, brother.
Oh, boy. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. If this is the first time listening to the show, you are listening to PHP Ugly. We are just a bunch of a couple. Well, sometimes there's three of us. Sometimes there's only two of us.
Occasionally.
We like to say we're overworked, underappreciated developers, but we like to get together once a week and talk shit. Sometimes we actually talk about coding. Most of the times we don't.
I got some coding stuff for us this week, but I've got a lot of bizarre, strange stories for you.
All right, well, let's jump into it. What coding stuff do you have for me this week?
Well, I don't want to start with coding because I've had an interesting week.
All right. Let's hear it.
My wife, I love my wife very, very much.
I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that.
She is the absolute worst at breaking news of any kind, good or bad. Just cannot do it correctly, appropriately, whatsoever. I get a phone call, and it's my wife. She's just about to get off work. She's in tears, crying, and tells me, "I'm just going to send you a picture. I'll tell you about it later."
Oh dear, that's not a good way to start things.
Right, and normally, like in a normal relationship, I would begin to panic. Like, what's going on? What happened? What did I do? What did she do?
Reasonable reaction all around.
She sends me a picture of a young man in his 20s and says, "This is my son."
What? Excuse me?
So we've been trying for a while, or she's been trying for a while, to track down a son that she gave up for adoption when she was 17 years old.
I never knew this.
Yeah. And he found her on Monday, and
he found her?
Yeah. Because the whole parents' rights versus child rights thing, it's really hard for us to find him.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier for him to find us.
Okay.
And by us, I mean her, because I have no relationship whatsoever to him.
Right, right. This is well before you.
Yes. So he's 26 years old, living in Utah, and and he's catching a flight tomorrow to come out and meet everybody.
No way!
Yeah.
Get out of here!
It's been a bit of a whirlwind.
Have you validated this connection? Are you sure? Now you are a world famous podcaster. Are you sure he didn't find out about that and he's just trying to weasel his way into this family?
It would have been the hardest possible way to do that, because he went through all of her extended family to get to this point. So I would think that if he was going to search me out specifically, that he would go through my extended family, but although the story would fall apart there, so I don't know. I'm not sure how do you validate that.
Very interesting.
That is one of the words I've been saying a lot lately.
We had Germany online with us tonight, by the way, in Discord. I don't know if we have our Chinese connection out there or not. But we definitely have Germany out there. Hello. That is absolutely mind-blowing, Thomas.
Yeah, it's a little bonkers. It was really 0 to 60.
So I realize I realize there's probably like, I mean, like what you can share, what you feel comfortable sharing, and all that. I understand those. You're still kind of defining where those limits are. But is there anything you can tell us about him? Like, is he a developer by chance? Is he Mormon? If he's in Utah, is he
Reformed Mormon, construction worker, recently engaged earlier this month.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot. I haven't been like my wife's been talking to him. My wife's been doing video chat with him every night and with the kids every night. But I'm not really involved in that because I don't have a lot of input in the relationship, which my kids didn't quite understand why. Like that why would
right? I mean,
adopted
to them,
mom's current husband's not really tied to the whole thing.
right. That is mind blowing. Well, I guess next week we'll have something to talk about for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm also having some trouble with Laravel Horizon.
Well, that's a good tie-in. I'm glad you brought those two together. But hold on, before we move on from adopted son, um, you, I don't even know where to start with this question. You two decided you were going to look for him, and then it just so happened he was looking for her as well, or how did that exactly happen? I mean, I don't know even how that transpires.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the exact deal is, but my wife had not put down her real first name on the birth certificate, which I guess is some kind of standard for birth adoptions. And then he contacted a bunch of people on her side of the family first who didn't know that she had a kid at 17. And so there were several relatives who said, "No, I think you got the wrong family. I don't think this is the right one." And finally he got to
Surprise!
finally he got to my wife's cousin who said, "Wait a second, how old are you?" So that would have made you, "Oh yeah, no, I know who your mom is."
No way!
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's absolutely mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. How do you feel? I mean, it's great for her and all. How are you feeling about it? Are you obviously? I assume you're happy for your wife, or
yeah, it's interesting. I'm not really sure where I stand with any of it because it's a new influence on the family, and my kids are currently
mm-hmm.
very angsty teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a lot of like caution on my end, whereas my
Mm-hmm.
wife is not known for her cautious nature.
Well, I mean,
But
she married you, right? I mean,
right. So, I don't want to step on her toes, but we also have to sort of establish, here's our goals with the kids. And, if you could just conceptually support that, that'd be great as a big brother.
so the kids, they're already aware of the fact that they have an older brother out there, and
Yeah, so we told them when they were 9 or 10. So they've known for a long time. And they knew that we had started filing the paperwork to figure things out. So it wasn't like a completely out of the blue thing for them. But teenagers are awkward. They don't know what they're doing. So, the first time that he called, they all got on the phone with him and said, "Hi, so what'd you do today?"
we've never actually met or anything. How was your day?
Yeah. they haven't like done, the manners schools, so they don't know what to say in a conversation.
Sure, sure, and it's not exactly a conversation you have every day either. I mean, it's definitely those unique cases.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen again. Because that would be a big surprise to me.
Younger days.
God, I hope it doesn't happen to me.
Well, that's super exciting news, and thanks for sharing with me and everybody listening. I personally would have probably held off on that one until I'm assured that like they weren't a mass murder or anything like that. But you're pretty brave putting it out there like this. I'm impressed.
If you don't hear from me next week, now you know why. Oh, but that does bring me into the other issue is that since he's going to be in town all weekend, you get to edit this episode.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Yeah, no problem there. I do have John and I, and if you aren't a regular listener to the show, our third amigo.
You keep saying that. Are you expecting like a massive flood of Chinese accounts or something?
I've been looking at our numbers since we started upping our stream, and we're like doubling our viewing audience. And I don't know. I just put it out there every now and then. You never know who listens to the show for the first time. I just like to kind of give some backstory. I mean, I don't do the whole origin story every show, but catching people up on things isn't that bad of a thing, right? I mean, we have how do you say that? How do you say the German name there in Discord?
Mabel.
Mabel. I don't think that's
I don't know.
But since you were nice enough to say you're listening from Germany, is this your first time listening? Let us know. And let us know if you appreciate me telling you who we are. I don't know. I feel like we don't do it enough. And I just like to establish that baseline every now and then. Anyways, our third amigo, John, is not with us today. He's doing some traveling for work.
Okay. He's still with us. He's still alive. He's not on the podcast.
I haven't actually talked to him today, so I can't exactly confirm that. But yes, he's, as far as we know, still part of this reality. He hasn't changed to dust yet, as far as we know. Have you seen the new previews for Far From Home? Or is that what it's called? The new Spider-Man?
Yeah. I'm curious.
It's going to be a cool year for Marvel movies. That Captain Marvel, the new Avengers. It's going to be. I mean, it's like they're going to tie everything together. So.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that they released the preview to the movie, and they didn't try to make it too obscure, where it was like maybe just like the Spider-Man logo, and they never really actually show the actors or anything like that.
The teasers and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So they actually showed a real teaser of the movie. So it's like, okay, cool. This looks cool. Now you still don't know if it happened before the last Avengers movie or if it happened after the last Avengers movie, where it falls in the timeline, and they didn't really give away a whole lot of secrets as far as that goes, but it's cool.
Oh, we know that. It's after.
Oh, we do know it's after?
Yeah, it's after.
Oh, I didn't. How did you figure that? I mean, I know people have said that it's going to be after, but I didn't see anything in the trailer.
The director said it was after.
Okay, but there was nothing in the trailer that confirmed that.
Well, except that he had a suit.
Okay.
Because remember, in the timeline, there's Homecoming. At the end of Homecoming, he loses all of his gear. He doesn't have a spider suit. In Avengers, he gets it back again. So the fact that he had a suit means it had to have been after Avengers.
Well, he got his suit back at the end of Homecoming, too. He didn't get the spacesuit.
He got offered the suit back.
No, he got offered the spacesuit. But because remember in Avengers, he swung in on the suit. He had the suit on when he came into Tony Stark and said, "Hey, Mr. Stark, what's going on here?" So he had the version of the suit that he had in the Homecoming movie. He was offered the spacesuit that he was given in Avengers. That's the one, or you assume that's the same one that Tony Stark calls for when they're going up in the spaceship.
Yeah.
But he had one version of the suit. Anyways, I'm excited. I'm a comic book nerd, so I enjoy that stuff.
I'm a little excited. Is DC Universe doing anything this year?
I actually haven't even seen the Aquaman movie that came out, so I don't know if it's any good. I haven't heard any reviews. I don't know what the DC Universe has in store, but I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see. I think the second Wonder Woman installment is supposed to come out this year.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. I do have some exciting news.
All right.
Let me throw it up here for all of our Patreon supporters. We do appreciate your support. I finally got around ordering the lanyards for the Patreon level that we set out. I said that I was going to get those mini lanyards for PHP Ugly, as well as the lanyards for Kit Mission Control. So I finally ordered the PHP Ugly mini lanyards. So if you're a Patreon, those should be shipping. It said the first week or two in February is what they were targeting. They keep emailing me some questions about the artwork. I'm like, no, that's really what the elephant looks like. I'm sorry. So, but let's see.
It's not the wrong file. That's our elephant.
That's it. So once we get that in, we'll start sending out all the Patreon supporters, all their prize levels. We said we'd send out the lanyards, basically the mission control lanyards to just everybody, right? Everybody who was part of mission control. Everybody who was part of Patreon, we'd send out a mission control lanyard for it, and then the top tier Patreons would get a PHP Ugly mini lanyard. So it's going to take a little while, but we'll get all that in the mail here. And buttery crumpets, you're very high on our list. We're trying to figure out a cheap way of getting you some swag. So we do appreciate you being the first and longest running Patreon. Thank you. All right.
What else
so you said you were having some problems with Laravel Horizon. That's the Laravel package that's out there for managing queues.
Yeah.
What's your issue with Laravel Horizon?
Well, we switched over to Horizon on one of our production machines recently, and I never really looked at it too much or cared about it. But today I had to run a job that had 11,000 records, 11,000 jobs on it. And so I was keeping my eye on how things were going, and it's only got a single process out of 11 that's actually working on that queue.
Huh?
And all the others are dead. All the other processes are sitting idle.
That doesn't seem right.
Well, so I looked at the load balancing. The load balancing on the processes was set to simple. I updated that, and I updated it to auto, so it should auto load balance everything that needs to be sorted correctly, and push that out. And once that was pushed out, I got all 11 threads on.
Perfect.
Right, but then it stopped doing that again, and now it's back to 2,000 jobs, and it's waiting for each job to finish.
Oh. Yeah,
So,
I don't have enough. I actually have no experience with Laravel Horizon, so I have nothing to contribute here.
Well, I pulled up my Composer JSON to look at what version of Horizon we're running, and we're running 1.4. But the current version of Horizon is 2. I think 02,
Yeah.
something like that. So major revision release plus some,
Mm-hmm.
but no changelog.
No, no changelog.
None. Not anything from 1 to 2. Not anything from 1.4 to 1.5 to 1.6. There's no changelog whatsoever for these different versions. I have no idea what's fixed, what's broken, what's new, what's removed. There's nothing indicating anything is different between these versions.
There's nothing in GitHub or anything? Come on,
There's
there has to
nothing.
be.
There's nothing.
I'm streaming my browser right now. I'm going over to GitHub. And yeah, not a whole lot there, is there? My
No,
goodness.
there's nothing at all.
I mean, I guess you could look at the commit logs, but even that isn't a whole lot. We got Michael Dorinda out there committing.
Commit logs are a time-consuming way to see if a bug on queuing is fixed or not. There's no way for me to know. Like, if I don't know what the bug is, I don't know which line of code change fixed it.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Michael Dorinda commits to this
now, where you're at on GitHub, you can click on the changelog.md. So there is a changelog file in GitHub.
Oh yeah, you're right. There is. Yep.
So go ahead and read to the audience what that says.
Version 2.0, add a new application level Horizon service provider and authorization method for consistency with Nova and Telescope. Yeah, not too informative. There is a that's from the 1.0, which the 1.0 obviously doesn't even have a change log, so that's actually that's not too helpful there, is it?
Yeah, it's not anything at all, and I have no idea. I have no idea how to proceed with this other than just like upgrade Horizon and see if it works now.
see if something gets fixed somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of what you're left to do here. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, I have zero experience with Horizon. I wasn't really blown away with Horizon, although I do think we're going to need it here moving very soon. I not need it, but it's going to be a handy thing to have.
It has serious limitations.
I mean, it's not meant to do a whole lot to begin with. I mean, you're only monitoring queues, so I don't know how much limitation it could have, but well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're having problems. I mean, but your queues are still working, right? I mean, it's not like it broke anything.
Yeah, no, it's down to 2,267 jobs remaining. So
you're just watching them tick off one at a time.
I literally am. We're moving images from one CDN to another.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally a job that goes and fetches an image, pulls it down, and then pushes it up to S3.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just gonna be time consuming, and it could work great with 1,000 threads running, but I can't get 1,000 threads running.
Right.
So
I don't know. I told you last week I started playing around with Laravel Nova, and I've kind of run into a couple weird behaviors with Laravel Nova.
What? Oh. What? I didn't say anything about that happening.
No, I did. I'm saying that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a bizarre behavior. I have a developer here at DiegoDev who has been working with Laravel Nova for a while. And when I explained to him the behavior I was seeing, which is basically like in Laravel Nova, you point you create a interface it's not an official interface. I'm just calling it an interface to your different Laravel models, and it gives you that CRUD display, the create, read, update, delete interface for that model.
Right.
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's not a whole lot of magic to it, but I keep pointing it to this one table. Now, the only thing that's odd about this table is this table has a relationship. So it has a belongs to relationship with users, and that relationship works, but for whatever reason, it only pulls in like a third of the records from the model. Like it won't pull in all the records.
Perfect.
And it's just a really weird behavior, because if you know how Nova works, like there's no filtering or anything I'm doing to limit it from pulling in all the records. So I'm just kind of like, my hands are up in the air. I'm like, I don't know. There's nothing for me to configure here to tell it to pull in anymore.
What do you want from me?
And even if I remove the relationship, it still doesn't pull in all the records. Like even if I just treat it like a straight model with no relationship, it still like picks and chooses what records. Now it's consistent. It'll consistently pull in the same records, but it's not pulling them all in, and it's really bizarre. I don't know why it's doing it, but yeah, coding. Fun stuff.
That's the thing to me about Nova, is that it's so much magic, so much black box, that you're going to have that problem.
Yeah, and like you said, this Marcus is the developer who has the most experience with it, and he was saying that he ran into a bunch of little quirks in it. Unfortunately, even the project I'm working on is an internal project for DiegoDev, so the fact that it's acting quirky, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just code around this. I'm not overly concerned about it, but it does bear in the decision of, okay, well, will I ever offer this to a client? Like, do I feel comfortable enough making this part of a project that I would offer to a client?
Yeah, I think it could very easily speed a small project up, but it adds complexity in its magic that if the project ever got big, it could really start to slow the project down.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
If I were doing a blog for somebody, sure. Laravel Nova, yeah, take a copy, leave a copy, exactly. Whatever.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But if I'm building a CRM that requires files to be added, relationships all over the place, management of security and this and that, I couldn't ever rely on Nova.
At least I couldn't with... I definitely would have to do a deeper dive in it. Yeah, but I get what you're saying. I'm kind of agreeing with you too. It's like it's not as out of the box. Hold on,
do you have a special announcement theme for the video, like the Eric's agreeing with Tom, confetti from the ceiling with balloons thing?
Christ. I should have put something together. Huh? Whenever I actually agree with you, I should have a button here to hit.
It happened! Ah! Air horns.
But yeah, I do agree that it would definitely require a little bit more deeper understanding of how Nova works, so that you can be sure that you're implementing it correctly. But it's not as straight out of the box. It just works. There's nothing to worry about implementation as you would hope it would be.
I don't think you could make such a thing. If you look at something like October CMS, which is a Laravel built CMS, that's what they were trying to do, and they couldn't succeed at it. And that I don't see a practicality to really depending on Nova.
All right. What else have you been? Any other coding stuff you've been working on?
I mean, it's been a lot, but it's been the same thing. It's been that that batch of jobs. Moved a ticket over from July of last year into production. And, woo boy.
Really?
I mean,
When
it's
you
my
say
usual gripe.
ticket, was it a ticket or was it a PR or what?
A Jira branch.
Okay.
So
So
is it
it was actual code though somewhere that you had to push?
yeah. Yeah, it was actual code from
July of
middle
last.
last year, yeah. And I mean, if you know how our shop works, we move pretty fast. So
Yeah.
it was scary to move this stuff over, but it looks like everything's worked out. And hopefully by Monday we will be switched over to a completely different image host for our entire system, which would
Wow.
be impressive.
Wow. That would be impressive. Yeah, we're continuing to plug along on our fairly large greenfield app with the one client. We've been reaching out to consultants to help the team get their head around event sourcing because we're trying to architect a lot of event sourcing into this new application, mainly because there's a big accounting component to it. So, got to talk to a couple of consultants last week, and I tell you, it seems achievable now. Like the more I'm getting my head around it, the more we talked through some practical implementations this last go around, and yeah, it's like okay, I'm seeing that, and we're actually starting to do some coding now, where we're coding around with some kind of first level sort of event sourcing architecture and seeing, okay, this is behaving as I expect it to behave, and how do I get this data? Where do I look for this data? Um, and what's even cooler is I'm getting more and more feedback from the community now of, oh, hey, if you're working on this, you want to go talk to this person. And so I actually got more people to reach out to, but I'm getting excited. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a big paradigm shift as far as coding goes, and the DiegoDev Group. I think once we
That
get our
must be
heads
so
around this
nice.
and we start implementing it, it's probably going to be something in our toolbox that we reach for more frequently. I mean, I definitely don't want to overuse it because it's a complicated kind of architecture, and that's what I was telling the team. I'm like, I kind of feel bad about this because the days of this client being able to potentially go to Craigslist and hire a developer will be gone if we implement this architecture. Like,
Now,
you're
does the client know that?
the client. Yeah, and we've talked through this, and it's actually the client that after we had done presentations of the event sourcing, it's the client now that's demanding that has made this a requirement. Uh, they saw a presentation of the event sourcing architecture, and I went down there and I talked to them about it, and we showed it. We said we didn't say this is what we're doing for sure. It's just this is the architecture we're thinking about trying to implement. These are the reasons why we're thinking about implementing it. And they actually ended up pulling in their CFO. So the CFO of the company, who is not even in San Diego, came down to San Diego to watch one of the presentations. And it was after that meeting, and the CFO has a big accounting background. It just resonated with him. He's like, I completely understand everything you're saying. This is how we do things in accounting. Like what you're telling me now are accounting practices. And then it was after that meeting, the CEO and the CFO had their meeting, and then the CEO reached out to us and basically said, this is now a requirement. You have to implement event sourcing.
See, okay, so the lesson learned from this is that whenever you have a design meeting, make sure that the company's accountant is part of the design process, because they'll do the second sale for you.
So yeah, and you did tell them because you're obligated to let them know, hey, you're really leveling up your architecture here. Like you can't bring in, your beginning, your introduction level. I want to be a PHP developer. I just started doing this 6 months ago. Developer anymore, and expect them to be successful in an architecture like this. I mean, it's just going to be a lot for them to get their head around. So we may be coding ourselves in some job security for a while, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yeah, if you do it right, then the job security builds itself in.
Right, exactly. And if we do it right and we implement it right, it won't be that difficult to maintain for us. It'll be difficult for somebody who doesn't understand event sourcing to come in and do anything, but for us, it should be pretty straightforward. We'll see. I'm nervous.
I hope there's an event sourcing talk at Wave next year.
Yeah, I think there will be. At least one. Wave is starting to stress us out.
Already. It's January.
Well, only because we were so focused on having it at the same venue that we had it last year that we thought that piece of the puzzle was already done. And then when we reached out to them and said, okay, we need to lock down some dates. It turned out that they weren't able to offer any dates that made sense to us. And so then so we even gave our original plan a lot of wiggle room where we were telling everybody, it'll be about the same time in September. We started looking into August and October, and where they had some dates available to us. We're like, those aren't really ideal for traveling to a conference for one reason or another. So now John and I, we were just talking about it this week of we've already started the process of looking for another venue. And it was like, okay, we need to get proposals out there for other hotels to submit to us to see if we can't find a similar venue. So we have those out there, and already it's like the ones we're getting back. It's like, oh well, September is going to be tough, but what about this date? And it's like, oh man, this sucks. And then on top of that, there's some rumblings in the kind of PHP conference community.
The secret PHP conference community. I've heard that it exists, but I haven't actually. I don't know where the meetings take place.
You have to know the handshake, and I just learned, so I can't disclose it. But there is some talk about whether or not these regional conferences are hurting or helping, and the one thing all the regional conferences
as
have
opposed to global conferences.
Yeah, well, as opposed to the more targeted conferences. So the one thing that everybody's having, the issue everybody has is sponsorship, because it costs a lot of money to have a conference, and there's limited amount of sponsorship out there. So if you have Wave, you have Longhorn, you have Cascadia, you have Detroit, you have Midwest, Mideast, all these little conferences all trying to get to the same sponsorship, limited funds. There's less for everybody. And so that's problematic, right? It's problematic for everybody trying to hold a conference.
Well, if theirs were as good as Wave PHP, they wouldn't have to worry about it.
Right, and I have arguments on this, and one of my arguments with John, because John, brought it up. He's like, "Listen, we're struggling." I'm like, we're going to be struggling for sponsorship. I'm like, yeah, well, everybody's struggling, and my argument with John is the same argument I had for the reasons we decided to hold Wave PHP last year, was that nobody's on the West Coast now. Of course, we have Cascadia now. They're up in Oregon, but it's like, honestly, I feel like we do a better job. And I'm like, we brought a viable, nice conference that people want to attend to the West Coast. All these other conferences are kind of in the middle of America, and if they want to duke it out, they can duke it out. But I don't know. I still feel like we have an obligation for our West Coast conference, and we're moving forward with that as well. We're like, okay, well, we're going to continue down this path, but sponsorship is going to be a big deal for us this year. I mean, last year, DiegoDev, we flipped the bill for probably 90% of that conference, and that's money we didn't see back. I mean, it's not.
I've seen the accounting. You guys paid the bill for 110% of the conference. I'm not sure how you managed to do that.
And it's not like we got contracts out of it or people bought our products or anything like that. It's just something we did for the community, and we had saved up previous years for that, but that well's dry. I mean, we didn't think we were going to have to spend it all on last year's conference, and there's nothing there for this year's conference. So we need to have sponsorship. So that's another factor. Not only is the venue a factor, but if there is no sponsorship, then there may not be a conference this year for us. There's only so much we can do about that. So we're still plugging along. We're still trying. We're reaching out. We're putting together our prospects and trying to get it out there. We think we have. We're hoping we have enough of a reputation now from last year. There's been enough word of mouth where people are like, "This was a good conference. It was well thought out. They had good speakers." That some of that sponsorship money will come our way, but we'll see.
I'm looking at our Patreon, and I don't think PHP Ugly is going to be able to sponsor this year.
We might be able to do a community table or something. I don't know.
That's true. There's a lot of the year left. If we just let it keep accruing, we could probably buy dinner for somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be a nice dinner. Be better than Big Macs served on silver platters, but.
There were some people that were happy with this Big Macs, Thomas. Don't knock it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a White House. That was a White House joke, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
That was crazy.
What I was wondering to myself, I wonder why more of these football players haven't spoken out about what they thought of the whole situation, and then I realized what this administration does to outspoken football players.
What's that?
Makes sure that they never work in professional football again.
Well, and these are college kids too, right? I'm sure they could pull scholarships and things like that.
No, I'm sure that if one of them said, "I can't believe this is a complete travesty and un-American," I'm sure if somebody had said something that was really their opinion, then they just wouldn't be playing next year.
And what kills me is Trump sat down to dinner that night and had a nice dinner.
He was so proud. Yeah, he had Big Macs. That was his version. He loves Big Macs.
Really?
Yeah, he did an ad for McDonald's in the 80s. He loves fast food.
As big of a guy as I am, McDonald's is one of those fast food really in general, but McDonald's, I can't eat McDonald's. I just can't. My body does not agree with McDonald's. And I was a big McDonald's. I think I was a big McDonald's person when I was younger. It was always good, but last 10 years, 20 years.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Every once in a while, I'll take my daughter out to treat her because she loves McDonald's, and I always regret it. It's always instant stomach ache.
Yeah, right? It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways. We don't talk politics on this podcast.
No.
We've got an interesting ticket here. Here's the thing: is that this is gonna turn into doom and gloom, so fast from here on out.
It's been pretty doom and gloomy leading up to this, by the way. So I'll point that out.
No, I've got a new family member. That's pretty. Not doom and gloomy. That's great.
All right, which ticket did you want to talk about?
Well, we both have the same ticket from the same website.
Right? How often does that happen? It actually happens pretty frequently, but yeah.
Yeah. But the headline here is slightly deceptive.
Okay.
So the headline here from Extreme Tech is Australia becomes the first Western nation to ban secure encryption.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have listeners in Australia.
We did. This has been coming for a while. Like, this legislation has been in the works. It's been in the works in the US, the UK, Australia, all over the world. And it basically says that if you have encrypted data and the government wants it, then you have to give it to them. You have to have some way to decrypt it.
Right. That was the big thing.
If you don't have a way of decrypting it, you have to build a way of decrypting it and give that to the government. Now, this headline isn't correct, because Australia has yet to ban secure encryption. So this law has not been passed. It's passed its first major hurdle, and the people in charge of the second major hurdle are saying that they are going to just pass it straight through. So it will, in all likelihood, become law in Australia, but it isn't law yet. We don't have to worry about it yet, but holy shit, this is the first government that succeeded in getting it as far.
Right.
The U.S. really wants to get this same kind of law in place, and it fundamentally destroys the idea of the internet.
Well, of any security on the internet. It doesn't really destroy the fundamental idea of the internet.
The
But
fundamental idea of the internet is destroyed by this, because if you pass traffic that is encrypted, you're going to have a way of decrypting it. And there are core elements of how the internet functions that use encrypted messaging for the sake of the function of the system. Router communication has to be encrypted so that the routers can't just get hijacked by any random on the network. Just the idea of this being put into practice, what's going to happen is that Australia is going to get cut off the internet. No one is going to comply with this. They will just stop delivering to Australian IPs.
Well, okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see if Australia says, "Hey, you can't offer your services to an Australia unless you comply to this." Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, anyone who's multinational, they're going to have a version of their website that is essentially a static HTML page that says, "Sorry, you're in Australia. Here's the most we can give you."
Yeah. And that's the thing that security experts are trying to warn the government of, is by creating these back doors, you fundamentally break security for everybody, because as they point out now, these companies can't protect our personal data today. They're not going to be able to protect what should be encrypted data. And those back doors, those encryption keys, everything that a company is going to use to implement so that they can adhere to these policies will leak. And they will get out there in the open, and bad people will take advantage of them.
Not just that it'll leak, but even in its correct use, it will fundamentally weaken encryption. If you have
breakable,
that's the goal. Huh?
But that's the goal, right? I mean, the goal is to weaken encryption.
Right, but it'll weaken it for everyone just by existing, just by trying to implement it for a single user. what you do is when you have the ability to access a single user's encrypted data, then it means that there's a single point of failure for all users' data.
Right.
And if there's a single point of failure for all users' data, then even if no one gets that key, that super secure key that accesses everything, it still exists. And it means that there's only one target now for hackers, crackers, and other attackers. If you break that one key, and what's the encryption technology on that one key? Is it 1028? Is it?
It'll be it will be the minimum. It'll be whatever the least amount of work they need to do to adhere to the policy.
Yeah, it's such a catastrophic decision, and being made by people who don't understand technology. I mean, and I'm willing to 100% admit here, when it comes to encryption, I don't understand the technology. I know enough to say, oh shit, don't ever touch that unless you're a mathematician, unless you're a certified diploma, doctorate in mathematics, because I've seen how encryption breaks in ways that only a mathematician would ever say, oh yeah, no, you can't do that because of how large number addition works, or how infinite number calculation works.
That's the thing is we're not even talking about cracking encryption. We're talking about building in backdoors. We're talking about enabling companies ways to disable encryption, not to crack it, not to say, hey, you can encrypt your data, but if we ever ask for data, you need to figure out a way to unencrypt it. This isn't an iPhone situation. It's a straight up, there has to be a back door. You guys have to be able to get into this. And that's the issue here. That's the weakness. And yeah, it's not good. And like you said, unfortunately, you have people who, much like net neutrality, you have people who don't understand the technology, who don't understand the impact, making these decisions and not listening to the people out there who do understand.
Yeah, and I think the shame about it is with net neutrality, there were people who knew what they were doing, but were also taking large bags of money from companies like AT&T, whereas in this case, nobody even knew what they're talking about, because it's just everyone came up and said, you can't do this. This is the worst thing you'll ever do. It will be your albatross. Please don't do this. And they said, yeah, but we need security theater. It's very important.
Yeah.
So is the doom and gloom slide still up?
Oh, I can put that up. Yeah, it's still up. It's up now. You get doom and gloom?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I would jump straight into the conspiracy theory stuff. Have you seen the 10-year challenge on Facebook?
It's so funny you say this. I see so many people posting it. I don't know what it is, but I've seen people responding to it. I still don't know what it is. What's the 10-year challenge?
It's a current Facebook trend or meme where you take a picture of yourself from 10 years ago and compare it to a picture of yourself today and say, look, I've aged.
Okay. All right. That's weird.
Yep. Super weird.
Is that all it is?
That's literally all that it is. The issue with this is that someone pointed out, hey, if you were a facial recognition company and you needed data for machine learning about how to age up or down photographs, then a network of 1 billion people participating in a 10-year challenge would give you a lot of really helpful data. I mean, let's be clear here.
Is that your conspiracy?
Facebook is a facial recognition advertising company.
I don't even know if that. I don't even know if that justifies the doom and gloom slide, man. I'm removing your doom and gloom slide. You're back on right out. That was pretty weak. That was weak for you.
But see, this came up at the same time as a survey from the Pew Research Center of people who use Facebook. So first off, I would say that posting pictures of yourself where you're comparing your younger self to your older self in a single combined picture is a dumb thing to do as far as just giving away information and receiving nothing back in exchange. I mean, if you look at Facebook as a market for receiving something in exchange for your information, you're literally getting nothing back except attention.
Okay. But before you go off too much further, has Facebook been around for 10 years yet? It's been around for 10 years, right? It feels like it has. Yeah.
Really does.
I mean, if that was really somebody's kind of twisted motivation, they would be able to go out and scrape pictures of you anyways from 10 years ago. Would they not? I'm pretty sure I have publicly available. Yes. I mean, just on my Twitter stream, I'm pretty sure you could go back 10 years on me.
Yes, they could, but the way it's being done draws a lot of attention simultaneously to generating a single image that you could dump into an algorithm without having to do any other math around locating the face, excluding background elements. You can cut a lot of crap by having the users do the work for you.
That's a stretch. I just thought it was a stupid internet thing, and I still think it's just a stupid internet thing. I honestly thought
there's a lot of people who weren't on Facebook 10 years ago. There's a lot of people who joined Facebook 2 years ago, and getting them to participate in this gets additional information added to the collective. India has only become online with Facebook within the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's a huge amount of information.
I don't know. I honestly thought there was more to it that I was just missing. I'm like, okay, what else is there? I mean, is there supposed to be something else? Are you supposed to see if this is real or not real? Or I thought there was something more to it.
It's just propagation of more data. But the thing that worries me about it, more than whether or not this conspiracy theory is true, is that Pew Research did a poll where they found that 74% of Facebook users did not know that Facebook maintained a list of their interests and traits.
Okay. All right.
When shown how to access this list on Facebook, which is your advertiser preferences somewhere deep within your settings, 51% of users were not comfortable with Facebook compiling this information. But only 20% of users said, well, that information is not even accurate.
What do you mean not accurate?
That it doesn't represent them, that they got their interests wrong. So that's the thing, is that most people don't know that Facebook is doing this, and when told, they're not comfortable with it, but it is accurate.
Yeah, that's just ignorant. It's like, how can you not know that Facebook is tracking this? Like, what do you think Facebook is doing? Yeah, I was thinking about it today. It's like
they have no idea. People don't understand how free stuff on the internet works. They have no concept whatsoever of why something is free. They just assume it. It's this entitlement thing that I think people are growing up entitled to free services being provided by the internet, and it never occurs to them that they're not free.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say to that. And you think about it, it's like even like the web browser. It's like you're absolutely 100% dependent on your web browser. Nobody finds it weird that web browsers are free. Like, I mean, even the good guys, even like Firefox, it's like, okay, Firefox is free because they're getting donations. Like, they're pretty transparent on how they make money off.
They're collecting data too. People are very upset about some recent revelations about that.
Oh, really? I was not aware of that. But still, despite all of that, I mean, you think about your web browser, you think about your email with like Gmail. I mean, how incredibly expensive did email used to cost you? I mean, not that it was incredibly expensive, but to get email, like private email, there was a fee associated with it. And now it's just something that like you said, people feel like they're entitled to. It's like
Right.
you need to think through this. I mean, there's none of this stuff is free. It's
So
never
have
free.
have you watched Valley of the Boom?
No.
Have you heard about it?
It's no. It sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
So this is a TV miniseries that just came out, uh, literally just came out 4 days ago.
Oh, then I definitely don't know what it is.
And it is the story of the Netscape versus Internet Explorer browser wars.
What? How did I not know about this?
I can tell you there's a smell to the show.
What do you mean? Do
I
tell.
had, for me and you, the show goes nice and fluidly. We go, yes, yes, rounds, Schedule C funding, IPOs, some interesting information, some behind the scenes about the characters, but really it's a character story about some of these Silicon Valley people who started the browser wars.
Now, is this based on facts, or is this fictional,
It
non-fictional?
it considers itself to be dramatically factual. So they're
Okay.
not calling it a documentary or a docuseries. They're not denying that some of the stuff is made up for drama, but the core idea behind it is
Hmm.
true, and they have a lot of interviews with the actual people that are being portrayed in the show, cut between the actual show itself. So I don't know if you've heard of a movie called Animals of America,
No.
or American Animals.
American
It was,
Animals.
yeah, it was a movie released last year that was in this same sort of format of cutting the real people in with the actors, and the actors acknowledging that they're actors on screen.
What?
Like, it's this whole fourth wall breaking thing.
Okay.
It's a true story, but it's dramatized. They have the real people in it, but they also have the actors, but the actors say that they're actors. It's
Okay.
it's a whole it's a style that there's popular right now. But my issue with it is that a lot of it makes sense to me, but my wife, who was watching it with me, I kept having to pause it and explain why certain story points were occurring.
Okay.
Why was Netscape, a web browser, worth $3 billion? How
Uh-huh.
did they make money? And so I had to pause it and say, oh, well, Netscape actually sold their browser on disks that showed up in binders every month. You got the latest update, and like, but it also shows the birth of the advertising model for websites, and how that develops.
Mhm.
It's an interesting show.
Well, yeah. I mean, we already have feedback in Discord that it's a great show. Is it on where do you where is it? Is it Netflix? What is it?
Usenet.
What?
I pirate everything. It's on National Geographic. I wouldn't know.
You're killing me. Can you speak human for a change? Where would like a normal person go watch this?
National Geographic.
National Geographic. Do you?
The National Geographic channel.
All right, I'm gonna have to look that one up
And
because
it's good, and it provides a lot of interesting insight into a lot of how Silicon Valley worked in the early 90s.
hmm
Uh, it's for nerds. It's for me and you, you
hmm
know?
yeah. It's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be one of those shows that I watch by myself because I absolutely drive my wife crazy if I watch it with her, because I'm like, okay, I don't think you're appreciating what's happening here. So you got to keep in mind that at this time, Bill Gates was doing this for Microsoft, and these guys are doing this for Apple.
They do a good job explaining that. They do a good job explaining that Netscape, in achieving its IPO, pushed Microsoft to create a free browser, and why that was monetarily advantageous at the time, and why it's more advantageous now. And we'll see. I haven't seen the whole thing. I've only gotten a couple episodes into it, but
you've only downloaded a few episodes.
Yeah, they're not all out yet.
Yeah,
but so far it's an interesting show. It's better than the whole the one about the x86 processor being invented. Whatever.
I'm gonna have to give that one. I'm gonna have to give that one a look, because that's right up my alley. I love those documentaries.
It's good, and it will remind you of Pirates of Silicon Valley quite a bit, because it
probably one of my favorites.
It basically takes place 5 years after that. And yeah, Pirates of Silicon Valley, if you haven't seen it, is still the best Steve Jobs movie, and the best the best explanation of the Microsoft versus Apple fight in the 80s.
And I would even venture to say I haven't seen a better movie depicting the startup of Microsoft either than Pirates of Silicon Valley. I think
even though it only covers it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it does a pretty good job. It does the whole New Mexico and.
Yeah, but the really early beginnings before New Mexico only get covered with like Balmer and.
Yeah, they kind of brush over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Balmer's a partier and Gates is not.
They're like they're all at Harvard, and then like you said, next thing you know they're in New Mexico, and yeah, that's true. That's true.
But their coverage of Steve Jobs is spot on. It's so good.
And is that the one? The guy from ER played Steve Jobs. Who played Steve Jobs?
Baby, who's the doctor from ER who played Steve Jobs in Pirates of Silicon Valley? Oh crap! I want to say Eric.
No, it's not Eric. I would know that one. I want to say Eli or something, but I don't think that's right either. We're both Wikipediaing it, but yeah, that is
Wiley.
Nolan Wiley. Yeah. Nolan Wiley. Hello. See.
All right. Yeah. I need to refresh my beer. Prepare yourself, because we're gonna get on a microwave level bandwidth as soon as I get back.
All right. Well, fortunately, I still have the doom and gloom here, so go ahead. I'll keep the viewers entertained. Perfect. I'll throw up a little Patreon there for everybody to look at. But yes, Nolan Weil and Anthony Michael Hall actually plays Bill Gates and does a really good job. Pirates of Silicon Valley. What year did that come out? 1999. Wow. Yeah, that movie's held up well. Yeah. Okay, are you back?
I am back. I did something to our Trello board.
Uh-oh.
I think I deleted your column.
I agree. We need music. Ted. That's you, Ted, right? Ted Nugent?
Yeah.
That's
frontal nudity.
Nudity. I can never say I can never pronounce his handle. Yes, I agree. We need to. I even have I even bothered to do the research on what music we can play. There's actually a whole service out there called Pretzel that all they do is stream DRM-free music that you're allowed that's allowed to be on streams. So it's a service designed specifically for streamers who want to have music on their show and not worry about licensing or getting taken down or anything like that. And all they do is, and they have a bunch of genres. Unfortunately, we're using OBS on a Mac, and getting that loop back has proven challenging. I might look into that again though. Okay, I still see my column on Trello. What do you got for us though? Let's hear it. Let me get your doom and gloom screen up. You're all set, man. Doom and gloom away.
Have you been shopping for a TV lately?
I've actually bought several TVs lately for the new DiegoDev offices. We have a couple of televisions, all Roku based, which I have to say, I am pleasantly surprised how well they work.
Well, here's the issue. Smart TVs are currently more in demand than dumb TVs, but they're also less expensive. So if you've got a Roku smart TV, it actually costs less.
55 inches, and I think it was under $300.
Yeah.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
Well, there was a podcast recently on, I believe it was The Verge.
Take your hand away from your mouth. What's wrong with you?
I believe it was The Verge.
Okay.
Did a podcast where they talked with Vizio CTO Bill Baxter. And Bill Baxter explained that there's a roughly 6% margin in the industry. So they're selling TVs at only 6% above cost.
So that's that. Yeah, the television, the margins on television. As somebody who used to work for a pretty notable TV producer, the margin has always been very tight.
Yeah, and one of the things he let slip was that the margin on dumb TVs is higher than on smart TVs.
Okay.
Because, quote, the greater strategy is I really don't need to make money off the TV. I need to cover my cost.
Mm-hmm.
So what they are doing is collecting and selling data from smart TVs, as well as producing advertisements that are put up on smart TVs. And that it is a smart TV provides greater income at a lower margin for TV manufacturers than a dumb TV.
Okay, so I'm gonna say a couple controversial things out there, and nothing new, but
go ahead.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, it's very much the same argument of advertisements on Facebook being tailored to me as opposed to just being generic advertisements. So, had my television, if I were to find out my television was grepping information about me to help target ads for me, and I was watching a service that had ads attached to it.
It's not for you.
Okay. Do tell.
So they don't care about targeting advertisements to you. They care about collecting data about viewership of television.
Well, they've always done that. I mean, that's nothing new.
They always did that when you were a Neiman family. What was it called? A
What was it
Nielsen
called?
family.
Nielsen. That's it. It wasn't
If you were a Nielsen family, you got your cable paid for, and they sent you a check and a special TV box that you had to enter your viewing into every time you did something. But now, that is built into all of the TV sets that are being sold.
Again,
and it is not just what you're watching, because these TV sets don't turn off. My TV set doesn't turn off.
Are you going to tell me it knows what I'm cooking in my microwave?
Probably.
So I'm gonna say I've been experimenting with a new service. This has been going on for a while. If you're a long-time listener of the show, we signed up for the YouTube TV, which is basically your local television over YouTube. It's worked out really well because, again, now that I have the television at the office and it's a Roku television, I essentially have all my television that I would have at home without having to pay for cable. So
sure.
It's kind of the same thing. It's weird because so one of the features of YouTube TV, and I think Hulu TV does the same thing. There's a few services out there, Sling Television. They all allow you to do online DVRing, right?
Right.
So that's cool. What I think would be cooler is, since it won't let me cut the ads out, because when you DVR it, you DVR the ads as well. I wish that these services were smart enough to be able to keep the ads current. Like, don't show me an ad for the football game.
You want ads?
I don't want ads, but if I have to watch ads, I want to see.
You don't have to watch ads.
You do if you use these services, right? So we're talking about doing things the legal way here, Thomas. But like, I'm fine with it having a spot for ads, but if it should be smart enough to say, okay, he's watching a recording from 3 weeks ago. This football game was played 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to use this ad spot for a current ad. Like,
sure,
I don't need to show them ads that are expired. And for a while there, I almost thought that's what the YouTube TV was doing, because it seemed like I would see ads and I was like, wow, that's very current ad for a show that was on last month. But then I go back and watch another recording and it's completely wrong. It's like, it'll show me old ads all the time.
Well, I think it's both.
So again, if I have to watch ads, I'd rather see current ads that are targeted for me as opposed to out-of-date random ads for anybody.
See, I would prefer, if I had to see ads, to only see nostalgia-inducing ads from the 1980s.
Well, I mean,
if we're going to play in this dream world where advertisers cater to algorithm,
us. Yeah, if you can if there was a way to manipulate the algorithm, then sure, why not? Yeah. I would be opposed to that. You should be able to dictate what sort of ads you see.
I want to be watching a show, and then during the ad break, they try to sell me Skeletor's Castle of Power, where you pour the purple slime in it, and it drips out the skull mouth.
Well, that would be awesome, but maybe not that.
Stop.
But maybe have Skeletor try to sell you a truck. Oh, wait a minute, that is actually an ad. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Where they have the
toys? I haven't. I have never. I don't see ads at all.
There's actually I don't remember what car company it is. Shows you how much attention I pay to it. But there's actually a car company that's their whole ad. They have these 80 toys that come on and sell you their car. They have like Ninja Turtles and a bunch of them.
Sure. Gotta milk those licenses. I literally don't see ads. I have a very advanced ad blocking system on my phone, my computer. You're
part of the problem, though, right? You illegally get these videos and you strip out the ads. You're part of the reason why people like me have to continue to watch ads. I mean, I pay for Hulu the Hulu I pay for ad-free Hulu. So I don't have to watch ads when I watch Hulu, but it's also not the live TV Hulu.
But see, that's not true. Did you know that Colgate was the first television broadcaster in America?
Okay, your point.
In America, there was a law that was passed that was like, oh, you can't be a brand of product and have a television station. But
Okay.
all the way back to Groucho Marx doing a cigar bit on television, it was brought to you by Colgate or Marlboro.
Okay. I mean, ads were on radio as well. It's nothing new.
Right. My piracy affects nobody. Like, no one at all. There's no one hurt by it. There's no one helped by it. It is.
I question that view. I don't agree with big media where they say pirates cost them billions of dollars, because again, here's my justification.
That's outright false.
Right. My justification is on Netflix, not Netflix. Well, I mean, you can say Netflix. I guess it's the same thing. On Netflix, I can watch commercial-free television for, whatever a Netflix subscription is. On Hulu, I can pay an extra $10 a month and watch commercial-free television. So somewhere, somebody is equating $10 a month is what I generate in ads, right? So for them to go after these people who download content illegally and say it's costing them billions of dollars just isn't true. And that's part of the problem as well. This is the thing. It's like everybody is at such extreme ends of the spectrum on this argument. And you got people like me who say, no, you're both wrong. It's here in the middle is
people
what's
like
right.
Me who are right.
No, yeah, obviously. I mean, I'm clearly right.
Well, it's been empirically proven that software piracy improves game sales. Video game sales are actually helped by software piracy.
And I think the same argument has been made of pirating music as well. And I'm one of those. I'm actually one of those people who agree that music is is an art form and is meant to be free. Now, I think musicians should be able to make a living off their music.
I disagree. A lot of music I hear now is not art.
Well, but that's subjective, right? I can agree with you there. I can definitely say.
I don't know. I consider myself an authority, and if you're an authority, it's not exactly subjective.
It's a little subjective. I mean, but again, same principle. It's like
you sound like my kids.
For somebody to be able to sue, a family for recording "Happy Birthday" song, which I guess is actually not a thing anymore, but the same principle. I record something, I put it on YouTube, and they take it. It gets hit with a copyright infringement act. It's like.
YouTube situation is real ugly. There are people who are having original compositions being taken down by Sony just because Sony believes that it owns music.
And the thing
it's bizarre.
It's not even. It's all automated too, right? It's just these bots that go out and look to attack. It's crazy. It's nuts.
The YouTube situation, story for another episode, but. Just know that if you're buying a TV, they are subsidizing the purchase of your TV with the data they're collecting from you. And the data is not limited to what you're watching, but also the things you're saying in the room when the TV is turned off.
So I do have a YouTube story, though. Can I share my YouTube
I saw this, and I haven't heard this.
Yeah. So, and I was actually happy to see it. So we stream on YouTube. So, I mean, YouTube is an important platform for, I think, a lot of people in the industry.
Oh, yeah. Thousands.
And there's been just this run of these prank shows and it's like, it's all these jackass knockoffs where these people are just doing things that are I don't know. I'm probably showing my age, but I'm just like, that's if you want to do stupid stunts with you and your friends and record them, be a dumbass and go ahead and do that. But it's like when they get other people involved, it's kind of like, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Anyways, YouTube now has said that they're going to start banning dangerous pranks and challenges. And I guess this all came about because of that Tide challenge.
Oh no, that's the Tide challenge is a great story to lead with. But this happened when a guy asked his girlfriend to shoot him with a Desert Eagle .50, and she did.
No. This actually, according to the article, the driving force behind this was the new birdcage challenge.
The Bird Box challenge.
Bird Box challenge,
where you create a shitty movie and put it on Netflix.
Where some teenage girl thought it would be smart to blindfold herself and go drive a car, and I guess that was kind of like the final straw for YouTube.
I don't know, man. My issue is that I don't usually get along with the conservative point of the snowflake generation, but teenagers have always been stupid.
I can as a former teenager myself, I can contest to that. Yeah. Yes.
And as someone who has a 16-year-old and two 15-year-olds, I'm realizing that 16 and 15 are teenagers and they do stupid things, but they're also at a point where there's literally no stopping them trying to get attention. Like, no matter what you do, they believe themselves to be masters of their own domain, controllers of their own body and mind and willpower. And no matter how wrong they are, they're gonna do something stupid. The Tide Pod challenge thing is fascinating to me because the number of that is 28.
28? 28 what?
28 people did it.
Oh, okay.
And like, the media wants to consider this an epidemic. But the number of views on the channels where somebody faked doing the Tide Pod challenge is in the range of tens of millions. So, like, banning these kinds of prank videos is going to have zero effect on the actual activities of idiotic teenagers. It will do nothing whatsoever. And it won't even shield YouTube from liability, because all you need is one viewer who copies another viewer to have the liability there. This is just another step in YouTube restricting what is acceptable on their platform for advertisers. This is purely driven by advertisers want to show.
That's fine. I mean, they're a private company. They can do that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But don't say that this is the safety of teenagers. You can't hide Tide Pod challenges from teenagers. They started it. Like, it went around the high school first, and then it got to YouTube. You know? Like, and this is not the social issue of our day, is not children doing things, just teenagers. It's not teenagers doing things they see on TV. That's the behavior of 9-year-olds. So to try and say teenagers are imitating what they see on the internet and we have to stop it as a socially responsible company is trying to pass the buck to people who have no responsibility in this whatsoever. People are dumb.
Obviously.
Just that's the disclaimer we need in front of every movie and video. People are dumb. This is fiction. Even if it's real, even if it's a documentary, it should say, this is fiction. Don't do it.
Yeah. All right. I think we are well past our time.
Yeah, we didn't have John around to tell us that it's time to wrap it up.
I know. We're deep. We're deep into hour 30 right now. I don't know how much I can edit that down, but I think
for programming news, Boss Jan in Discord just pointed out that the new version of PHP 7.3.1 does fix the Laravel opcache incompatibility bug.
You can look up above us if you're watching the video. Yeah, I saw that. And that was actually something that was brought up. I think he's the one that actually brought it up in our Discord when 7.3 first came out.
But he is saying that there is still a bug when running opcache and xdebug. So,
wonder what that could
anyways,
be. Why would xdebug and opcache?
Because xdebug is the monster that won't die.
Yeah, we're still alive, buddy. You're contributing to the show as we speak. So that's awesome. If you're listening to the podcast, we were able to get OBS going for this one, so we have all our little Discord chat,
all the bells and whistles
going. Yeah, we've been switching scenes. We've been showing browser articles and Patreon lists. Again, thanks to all our Patreons, which is currently up. So, yeah. I think, well, as a matter of fact, let's leave it at that. I'm going to keep the Patreon screen up, and I think we will wrap that. We'll call that 137 in the can. We'll be back next week, and our goal next week, Thomas, is at least 20 minutes of code talk. Real code talk next week.
I will be working on my GraphQL stuff next week, so I'll have something for you.
We have things to talk about, yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Okay, next week, GraphQL is our topic. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm Tom Rideout. Keep it ugly.
I'm going to...
You archive all the old episodes. I want to get through the archive because every episode we say keep it ugly and you end it with a little song, and I want to compile all your little songs together.
I'm going to so we have been cutting our Discord channel short with OBS because we haven't been continuing the stream like we used to do with Hangouts. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this stream running for a little while so everybody can appreciate our talk, but this is all the stuff that won't make the podcast.
I'm going to use the restroom. 1 second.
I'll bring up our... Okay, go ahead. So yeah, Discord, Patreons, working on getting stuff out to you guys, as I said a couple times. So look for that. I guess if you're in the continental U.S., unfortunately, even you Canadians, we're trying to figure out a cheap way of getting you Patreon stuff, but there's something magical about that border that just sends the cost of shipping through the roof. So we're working on a couple of solutions. And Buttery, if you're listening to either the live show or if you listen to the audio show, you're very high on our list to get you some swag of some sort. Thomas, you are back.
Did you listen to...
We have sponsorship info for Wave PHP. So, Ted, we actually have the prospectus. We're finalizing the prospectus now. The only caveat to it is we don't have the venue and dates nailed down. So I think we're probably going to be sending out one version without a confirmed date and venue. And then when we get that, we'll add it. If you have somebody you want us to send it to, let me know. And I will make sure to add you to the list. What were you going to say, Thomas?
I forgot now. I was just thinking, you ever standing there peeing and then you close your eyes and just sort of relax your head for a second, then start hearing it hitting the ground? Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, have you ever stood there peeing and it's like, man, this really burns more than usual? Yeah, no, I haven't either.
Did not say that.
All right.
China
man.
grew a plant on the moon.
Really? Did they really? What are
Yeah,
you?
you didn't hear about that?
Oh.
They landed a rover on the dark side of the moon, and then they grew a plant, like a cotton seed, and then it died.
All right. I'm moving to air. I'm gonna let me put it up on I'm gonna do this live on OBS. Help space grows plant.
I
I'm saying fake news right now. China grows first plant on moon in gadget. China grows the first plant on the moon. There it is. It's rover.
so this is a sort of a really in-depth, very smart article that there's no way we could properly cover it on the podcast, but I think everyone should read it.
Wait, what is it? Are you talking about the one in Discord?
Yeah, I just posted it there.
Okay.
I wanted to cover this, and it talks so much about piracy, music sales, AWS, open source.
I really don't want to get into all that.
Well,
That's something
you need to learn about something called the SSPL. It talks about the new replacement for the GPL and the AGPL, and oh boy, it's
AWS, MongoDB, and the economic realities of open source. All right.
There's some very important information for anybody who is thinking about running a service of their own, like a SaaS, because it talks about how licensing is done for SaaSes on open source projects. But there is some absolutely fascinating information in this story, and I mean it's
a current story too.
It's such a need to know thing. You really need to know this.
Well, then why don't you put it in Trello?
Because it's too much to cover. The density of the article.
But still, I mean, we could throw it in show notes. You could brush over it and say, "Hey, I read this article."
I did. It's there.
Well, that's where.
It's at the bottom of the show notes.
All right, whatever. We didn't talk about it on the show at all, though. I mean, the people in Discord are appreciating.
All right, then they get an advanced look at one of next week's topics, because
I like that. I like that idea better.
It is. Yeah. It is super fascinating.
Yeah, I like that idea.
But the nature of licensing and open source software is very fluid right now, and very, very important. Check out Valley of the Boom if you can't get it.
I'm totally gonna watch it. I need to hunt that one down. That one totally slipped under my radar. I was not even aware of that show. I'll look for it tomorrow.
You'll dig it. It has a poor rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think that's just because it's such a niche story.
I can see how that could happen. Like, your audience who really appreciates that sort of story is going to be pretty limited.
Yeah, but you'll see faces in the show, and you'll just go, "Holy shit, that's really him! Wow!"
All right. I should lock up the office and head home and try to get some sleep. So,
alrighty, buddy.
Next week it's just you and I again. So John is out. John will be out again next week as well. So,
and don't forget that when you do the edit, the release date for him is Wednesday.
No, not when I edit. Excuse me.
Why?
Why release it on Wednesday? I like to have it so people have it Monday. Although I don't even know if I'll get to edit this weekend. I have we did the PHP architect interview this week, and I need to edit that together as well. So I got a lot of editing to do.
Well, if you don't get to it this weekend, then I'll just do it on Monday.
Okay, well I'll try to get to it. I'm not trying to brush it off.
No.
I'll try to get to it.
It's fine. Since Sam is going to be here, I don't know what the hell we're going to be doing.
Sam. Okay. Real fast, let's go ahead and end the stream. Discord, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for everybody who contributed. Thanks for watching, of course. And see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.